Good morning, everybody. It's lovely to sort of gather, but to be together online like this on Easter Day. It's lovely to be with you again. And I say again because hopefully you were with us on Friday. I'm really sorry if you weren't able to be with us. You're so welcome. On Friday, it was Good Friday. And on Good Friday, we remembered that Jesus died on the cross. He died on the cross. He was really, really dead. The writers of the Bible, they really make that point. He was as dead as a man who doesn't respond when you put a spear in his side. He was as dead as a man who gets wrapped from head to toe in linen and put in a tomb and sealed. He was completely dead. But that was Good Friday. And today is Easter Sunday. And so we're thinking about something a little bit different, because Easter Sunday means one thing: chocolate. Easter Sunday means chocolate, doesn't it? Oh, I tell you what, I love chocolate. This is my only Easter chocolate that I got given this year, but I'm not even that sad about it because it's just so good. I mean, look at the wrapper. Even just the wrapper makes you think this is going to be good. And then you take it and you start unwrapping it. Oh, and you get a little hint of what's inside. Oh, and it's amazing. You get that out. Look at that. Creamy melt in the mouth.
Hey.
Chocolate. Hey, Millie.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Kind of doing something here.
You got chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Can I have a look at it?
You want to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. It's got like a star and.
What? I can't believe she did that. That was my only Easter chocolate. I can't believe she ate my only Easter chocolate. That is so unexpected. That's so surprising. I mean, she's never done anything like that before. She doesn't normally steal things from me. I mean, if anyone knows Millie, that's very unusual. Very, very unusual. Here's the thing. Just because something is unlikely, just because something's unexpected, doesn't mean it's untrue. Really dead Jesus is really alive. That's what we're going to think about today. And we're going to have our reading now from the Bible. It's in John chapter 20. So if you've got a Bible, grab one, turn it to John chapter 20. Don't worry if you've got a different version. It's quite a long reading. We're going to have it read to us. If you can read along, that would be great. Right, let's have our reading.
Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they've put him." So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Both were running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and looked in at the strips of linen lying there, but did not go in. Then Simon Peter, who was behind him, arrived and went into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as the burial cloth that had been around Jesus' head. The cloth was folded up by itself, separate from the linen. Finally, the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, also went inside. He saw and believed. They still did not understand from Scripture that Jesus had to rise from the dead. Then the disciples went back to their homes, but Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white, seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they've put him." At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. "Woman," he said, "why are you crying? Who is it you're looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you've put him and I will get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said, Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet returned to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am returning to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord," and she told them that he had said these things to her. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that, he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone his sins, they are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." Now Thomas, called Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were inside, I will not believe it." A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Jesus did many other miraculous signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe, and that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name.
Wonderful. Jesus is really alive. His followers saw him alive. That's the first thing that John wants us to see in his account. Jesus' followers saw him alive. And if Jesus is alive, well, that changes everything. Because this isn't like this. This isn't a fairy tale we're talking about here. This isn't something that we're just kind of pretending happened. It isn't something we just make believe about. This isn't a fairy tale. This really happened. Jesus' followers, they didn't expect to see him alive, did they? None of them expected it, but, well, this is what they saw. Let's have a look at it together. First thing, on the first morning of the week, Mary, she goes to the tomb. She goes because, well, she thinks there's going to be a dead body there. But she gets there and the tomb is open. The stone has been rolled away. And she thinks, someone's stolen the body. She doesn't think Jesus is alive. So she runs and she goes and gets Peter, and she gets the other disciple, who we find out he's John, who wrote this. And Peter and John, they run back to the tomb. And when they get there, they see it open and they go in. And what do they see? They see two piles of linen, folded and separate. Now, if you're going to steal a body, well, you don't take the linen off first. That would be disgusting, wouldn't it? That would smell horrible. It would look horrible. Oh, who does that? No, you don't do that. But imagine you wake up and you're covered head to toe in linen, in burial clothes. What do? Well, you take the linen off your head, you put that down, and then you unwrap the rest, and you put that down too. Mary, Peter, John, they didn't expect to see Jesus alive, but this is what they saw. Mary, though, she doesn't quite get it, does she? She doesn't put two and two together, because she stands outside the tomb weeping and crying. Even when two angels appear to her and ask her what's probably the silliest question you can ask someone in a graveyard. Why are you crying? She says, they've taken my Lord away. Even when she sees Jesus himself standing in front of her in the half light of early morning, she doesn't recognize him. It's not until Jesus says, Mary, that the penny drops. And she sees it. And she just wraps her arms around Jesus and gives him the biggest hug. Let go of me, he says. It's not time for that yet. You need to go and you need to tell the other disciples. And so she runs off. And next we find the other disciples. And they definitely weren't expecting for Jesus to be alive because they've locked themselves in a room. They're expecting someone to visit them. They're expecting the people who killed Jesus to come after them next. And so they're afraid and they've locked themselves in this room. And then they get a visitor. But it's not who they expect. It's Jesus himself, alive, standing in the midst of them. And then finally, Thomas, poor old Thomas. He's got a bad reputation, hasn't he? Doubting Thomas. But I mean, he's not going to be fooled. Jesus is really dead. Of course he's not alive. He wasn't expecting to see him alive. He says, no, I will not believe. Not until I see the nail marks in his hands, put my finger in the hole in his hands, put my hand in the side where the spear went, I won't believe it. And then as if Jesus is ticking things off Thomas's list, he appears to him. Thomas, see my hands. Put your finger in the nail mark. Put your hand in my side. None of Jesus' followers were expecting to see him alive. But this is what they saw. And do you see the effect that it has on all of them? Verse 11, verse 8, verse 22, verse 28. They believe. They believe. Mary, her crying turns into joy. She wraps her arms around Jesus. Peter and James, they run home to their families. The disciples who are fearful and trembling and hiding in the room, they are overjoyed, we read. Doubting Thomas proclaims, my Lord and my God. He believes. Just because something is unlikely and unexpected doesn't mean it's untrue. Here's my chocolate wrapper. It seems pretty unlikely that Millie, my wife, who's never really stolen from me before, would come and steal my only chocolate on Easter. But you saw it, so you believe. Think about coronavirus. If I told you a year ago today that you'd be spending your Easter weekend on a sunny weekend, inside, locked in your homes, not going out, not with family, maybe on your own, that you wouldn't be going outside and seeing other people because if you went within 2 meters of someone outside your house, you risk getting arrested, that the whole world, literally almost every country in the world, was on complete lockdown. Well, would you have believed me? Maybe not. Seems pretty unlikely. But you've seen it, so you believe. Jesus' disciples, Jesus' followers, they didn't expect to see Jesus alive. This isn't a fairy tale. They're not making it up. This is just what they saw. And so they believed. We're going to come back to this in a minute, but back over to Jim now.
Okay, I think back over to Nath this time.
Thanks, Matt. Jesus' disciples, Jesus' followers, they didn't expect to see him alive, but this is what they saw. So they believed. Hold on, you might be thinking, hold on, hang on. That's well and good for them, that's fine, but I wasn't there. I didn't see Jesus alive. I didn't see it. They saw it. So it's fine for them to believe, but how can I believe? Let's think again about that Easter chocolate of mine, my only Easter chocolate that Millie came and ate. It seems really unexpected, and I'd like you just to pretend for a minute that you weren't here, you didn't watch the YouTube video for that little bit when Millie came in and ate my chocolate. And I'm telling you now, my wife came in, she's never stolen from me before, but she came and she ate my only Easter chocolate. You might think, no, especially if you know Millie, if you've met her, if you get to meet her, you'd think, no, I don't believe it. It seems too unlikely. What could I do to persuade you? How about this? Suspend your pretending you didn't see it. If you saw Millie come and eat my Easter chocolate, think, can you get on the comments below this video, or to the side, depending which way you got it arranged, and can you write in there, I saw it. I saw it. Is this coming through backwards? It's backwards on my screen. It says, I saw it. If you go in the comments and just write, I saw it. Don't worry if you don't know how to do that. It's just below in the comments. I'm going to have a quick look and see if some of those are coming through. Let's have a look. I saw it. Oh, here we go. Here they come. I saw it. 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 Loads of them coming through. Brilliant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I can't quite count. It's going up too fast. That's it. Might seem unlikely, it might seem unusual, might seem almost unbelievable that Millie would eat my Easter chocolate. Imagine you hadn't seen it. Now look at those comments. Everyone saw it. Everyone else saw it. So you can believe it. John, he wrote this account so that we could believe. Look with me. John chapter 20, verse 30, if you've got a Bible. Let me read it. Jesus did many other miraculous signs in the presence of his disciples. He did so many other things that aren't written down here. But these are written. These things are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and by believing have life in his name. This is the big thing that's going on here. Did you catch what John is saying? The disciples saw it. Jesus' followers saw him alive. They weren't expecting to, but this is what they saw, and they believed. And they wrote it down so that you and I can believe. Maybe you think, oh, I don't know, that kind of eyewitness evidence, I don't know if that's enough for me. Well, actually, that's what we're used to all the time. In a law court, eyewitness evidence alone would be enough to get you put in prison for the rest of your life, or enough to make sure you don't get put in prison for the rest of your life. And think about coronavirus again. It might seem pretty surprising, it might seem pretty unusual that the whole world would be in the state that it currently is, but we've seen it, so of course we believe that it's happening. But not only have we seen it, we've actually written about it, haven't we? We've written about it on our phones, we've written about it in emails and probably in like Twitter messages and Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook and everything. We've written about it in letters. Maybe you wrote a letter or a postcard to your grandparents and you mentioned coronavirus, you mentioned you were stuck in your house. In 200 years' time, when no one who saw what is going on now is alive, people are going to be able to read those emails and those messages and those letters, and they're going to believe, yeah, it happened. We're used to this type of evidence. So that, it really leaves me only one question as we end. Do you believe? Do you believe that Jesus is alive? Really dead Jesus is really alive. Because if you do that, that changes everything. Did you catch what John thinks is at stake? He said, I wrote these things that you may believe, and by believing, have life. Isn't it more obvious than ever that life is what we all need? They're building field hospitals in our cities. They're digging and filling mass graves in cities like New York, on Easter Sunday, the death toll in the UK will pass 10,000. The man who really was dead and is really alive is offering life. Now that changes everything. Maybe you're feeling vulnerable this morning. Maybe you're self-isolated. You're really worried you're going to catch this. Maybe you've got friends and family who you're worried for. Really dead Jesus is really alive and offers life, a life that goes beyond death, a life that even though we die means we will live forever, and we will live with our Father, with his Father. One day we will get to see Jesus, and we'll, like Mary, get to wrap our arms around him and just hold him in the best hug. And he'll say, come on, let's go see our Father. Here is hope. Here is hope. Even in lockdown, here is the hope that we need. The man who really died is really alive and offers life. And if you do believe that this Easter morning, then John has written to give us confidence, to give us certainty. We really can believe these things. This isn't a fairy tale. This isn't true. This is more important than Easter chocolate. I'm not really worried about my Easter chocolate. This changes everything. Jesus is alive and offers life to all who believe. Happy, happy Easter. I'm going to pray. Father God, thank you so much that John and all Jesus' followers wrote down what they saw so that we can believe, and by believing have life. Help us, Father, to believe. Amen. Back to you, Jim.